Welcome to the Root of Power podcast, where I teach you how to chase your joy, find alignment, and create a life and a business that you love, using actionable methods, interviews, and inspiring stories from people who know that true freedom is found within. I'm your host, your always hype woman and sometimes ass kicker, Amanda Chills, and I am so proud of you for choosing to step into your power. Come along, we've got dreams to build. Okay, my love, I have put everything that I offer for free on one page so that we are not doing more work than we have to, because why would we do that? Hashtag work smarter, not harder. So livemyhappyhealth.com/free. You are going to find everything I've created for not only leveling up in your personal life and building a life that you love, but leveling up in your business life and building a business that you love. Okay? livemyhappyhealth.com/free. Love you. Sup, podcast fam. So we're talking about another this must have this, otherwise life is a dumpster fire concept. So if you listen to the last episode, or maybe this one is coming out first. Anyway, both solo episodes this month follow this principle that you can't just do this, you have to have this. So the last one was you are not going to be successful if you don't marry insight with action. Okay, it was a really good episode. I just filmed it. So go listen to it or don't, like whatever. This is your life, not mine. Hi. I hope that you're well. I hope that you are taking action to get the life that you want, deserve, are worthy of, are dreaming of, all of those things. If you're not, I'm proud of you for just listening to this podcast. Like if you're just in the, I think I'm kind of interested, but it seems kind of scary and big, and I don't know if I can do it phase, like congratulations, you're on your way there. Like this is a great start. And if you're like, I'm taking action and it's banging and I'm like living my best life, like, oh my God, congratulations. I love that for you too. So like wherever you are in this journey is honored, is held space for, is celebrated. Like, yes, we love all of this for you. And I hope that it continues to get easier. And I hope that you get better and better and better, which you will, because that's what happens when we practice things. And life is really just a series of practicing skills to get what you want. Congrats. I just demystified all of personal development for you. It's just a series of skills that you apply and get better and better and better at. So then it becomes easier and easier. That's how mastery works, right? So one, if you're not following me on Instagram or TikTok, what are you doing? At Amanda_Chills. I think for both, I forgot to look up my TikTok again, but I think you can search my name. I don't really know. Anyways, I drop a bunch of like knowledge and things on there. If you're like, oh my God, I actually love you and I want to work with you, livemyhappyhealth.com. That's the place where you're going to find me. I've got some really cool free resources for you. It's like up at the top. If you're looking at it on your phone, it's there somewhere. I need to just put the little like menu there. Anyway. Hi. I hope that you're doing well. Let us party. If this episode resonates with you, and I would guess that because you're listening to it, it does, you may very much benefit from my course, Becoming Light, which is to help you heal the underlying trauma that is causing people pleasing. Now, it will not take the place of therapy, but it is an excellent window to crawl through to get into the room that is personal development and happiness. It's great in addition to therapy. It's great on its own. Like, it's going to help you learn the skills. Remember, everything is skills-based that you need to learn in order to start healing that, in order to start putting yourself first without being an asshole about it, without being mean, without feeling guilty, without feeling so anxious that like your butthole puckers up when you like need to set boundaries. Like, you're going to set boundaries with ease. You're going to be calm while you do it. You're going to know exactly what to say. You're going to easily manage any pushback that you get, which sometimes you do because it's a new version of you that people are dealing with. You're going to learn how to set relationship standards and hold them. You're going to learn like real actual self-care. You're just going to be more of the person that I know you already are, which is kind and wonderful and giving, but we're going to do it in a healthy way. So you can check that out, livemyhappyhealth.com/becoming-light. That is going to get you to the sales page. It'll likely answer a bunch of questions you have. If you still have questions, just shoot me a message on Instagram at Amanda_Chills. If it's a good fit for you, I'll let you know. And if it's not a good fit for you, I will point you in the direction of something that may be a better fit. And if you're like, this is a really good fit, but I can't buy it yet, like, awesome. That's fine. It'll be there when you're ready. So this episode really has a lot to do with that course. So again, if you're listening to this, I highly recommend that you check out the course because they're very, very aligned. And if it's for you, great. And if not, say la vie. Okay, so we're going to talk about today how your big heart is not actually the problem. Okay, we want more people in this world who have big hearts and who follow them and who give without abandon and who, well, maybe with some abandon, right? Who give because that's who they are, who are kind, who are giving, who are loving, who show up for people. Like, I do not believe that there is a scarcity of people like that. I believe that there is a scarcity of people like that who do it in a way that honors themselves and is healthy. So the goal is that we are giving with stipulations, with boundaries, without self-abandonment, without self-sacrifice, and without self-betrayal. Okay, and if you're listening to this episode, you probably are doing those three things. So when we have just a big bleeding heart with no boundaries, we end up miserable, suicidal, angry, resentful, isolated, drowning. And if that is you, hang on, we're going to get to why you need boundaries. And not in the way that you're like telling everybody to fuck off, or you never talk to anyone, or you never do anything for anyone again. Like, that's not the vibe, right? That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is giving in a way that still honors you. So like, even organizations that exist to give, like nonprofits, like churches, like, those things, right? Even they don't give everything away. So the Catholic Church has like billions of dollars in art, in funds, in bank accounts. Like, they keep a percentage of what they have so that they can operate. Nonprofits keep some of the money because they have operating costs, because they have to pay their staff, because, they do all these things. Even though they have this arm of charity, this arm of giving, this arm of like doing really important, impactful work, they still keep some of it. So if you give $100 to a nonprofit, they don't then turn around and give all of that $100 away. They can't, because then they would not be able to function. You are very similar to a nonprofit. You can't give away everything, because then you can't function, because you have nothing. Nobody can run on nothing. Cars can't, animals can't, you certainly can't. Drinking the waters. You certainly can't. Businesses can't. You cannot give away everything. Okay, you have to keep some for yourself. And this is where boundaries become really, really important. Now, a lot of people, a lot of nice people, a lot of people-pleasing people, say that 3 times fast. When I talk about boundaries, they're like, well, you just want me to cut everybody off, and you want me to tell everybody no? What if they get mad at me? Great questions. 1, no, I don't want you to cut everybody off. No, I don't want you to say no to everything. Yes, they may get mad at you. I will counter that and say, you're not going to die from that. Now, the inner child in you may be like, actually, it feels like I'm going to die, because rejection as a child likely means death, right? If your family kicks you out and you're 4 years old, yeah, you're going to die. But as an adult, we know that that wound is not useful to subscribe to. Not that you can just choose which wounds you subscribe to, but you can heal them. And we heal them by setting boundaries. We heal them by saying, okay, maybe this person will be upset, but that actually doesn't impact you nearly as much as you're afraid it does. You're going to be fine. People have been mad at you before. You have not died. You will not die now. You will be fine. You'll be uncomfortable, but you're not actually going to die. So yes, people may be upset with you, but I would also question the value of having and keeping and allowing people to be in your life who don't want you to take care of yourself and who are angry with you for taking care of yourself. Like, think about that dynamic. You have people in your life, you allow people to be in your life who get angry at you for putting yourself first. That's not okay. That's not healthy. Now, that doesn't mean you put yourself first all the time, but even if you did, congratulations to you. That's amazing. But that's not likely what's going to happen, right? What's more likely to happen is that you put yourself first more often. You actually have more to give. You say yes when it is a full yes. You say no when it's not. And you're happier. Your relationships are better. You learn that most people are going to give you grace about it. They're going to understand, because ideally, if people are in your life, they care about you and they want what's best for you. And if people are in your life who don't care about you and don't want what's best for you, I would very much question why we're keeping those people, because that doesn't benefit you, right? Now, some people don't have the skills to understand you setting boundaries. Like, accepting boundaries is its own skill. So at first, when you start setting boundaries, people in your life may be like, WTF, mate, what are you doing? This is weird. But that's also because they've only known you a certain way, which is always giving in, always saying yes, self-abandoning, self-betraying, all of those things, self-sacrificing. And now you are shifting that. So it takes them a little bit of time to adjust as well. But having done this work for years now, I will also tell you that like 99% of people adjust. Even narcissists, even people who are abusive, like, they adjust. Why? Because they want you in their life. So they're going to adjust. More than likely. Again, 99% of people, I have done this work with literally hundreds of people. Everyone adjust. They don't always love adjusting, but they do adjust. So please know the people in your life will adjust. You will survive people being upset with you. You're not going to die about it. And boundaries is the actual way to freedom. Okay. It's the way to actually allow your really big heart to exist, to thrive, without also wanting to die. Okay. I have worked with a ton of people pleasers, and at some point they all were so empty and so overwhelmed that they either became depressed or suicidal. And part of that is because they literally were not taking care of themselves. And it got to the point where their body was like, we cannot fucking do this anymore. Like, we cannot function. And the only option is to die. Like, which is not the only option, by the way. Like, that is not the only option. The better option is to learn how to set boundaries and how to take care of yourself. So your big heart, your empathy, your ability to give people grace, your want to help people is not the problem. Those are gifts. Those are valuable. We want to keep those. We just want to add boundaries. Like, you wouldn't expect a police officer to run into an altercation, into a dangerous situation without a bulletproof vest on. Why? Because we want to protect the squishy soft parts. The squishy soft part is your big heart, where you want to help people, but we want to protect it. We want to put a boundary between somebody's bullet and your heart. Okay, that is what a bulletproof vest does. That is what boundaries do. They protect what needs to be protected. And that doesn't mean that you have to be mean. It doesn't mean you have to cut people off. It may mean that you have to cut people off, but that's always your choice. It does mean that you have to say no to more things so that you can say yes to the things you actually want to say yes to. Okay. So when you have way more empathy than you have boundaries, and again, if you're listening to this episode, hi, it's probably you. which is not a problem, right? Well, it is a problem, but it can be fixed. So that's not a judgment about you. It's just an observation. When you have too much empathy, you make excuses for people that are doing inexcusable things. Well, they're doing it because they're angry. They're doing it because they don't know better. They're doing it because XYZ. That list never ends, right? Like, think about the things that you have made excuses for that are not okay. That's because you have too much empathy. Empathy is a wonderful trait, but too much of anything becomes a bad thing. So we don't want to have so much empathy that we allow people to mistreat us. We don't want to have so much empathy that we let anything go, because some things should not be forgiven. Some things should not be let go of. Some things should not be allowed. Okay. If someone is screaming at my face, I'm not going to go, well, they really had a hard day and they don't know how to communicate. So I'm just going to let them because they need to get it out. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard that. And my counter to that is, you don't actually deserve to be screamed at. You don't deserve to be screamed at. You are not somebody's punching bag. You are not somebody's therapist. And even as a therapist, you don't deserve to be screamed at. Okay. I don't get screamed at as a therapist. Somebody's screaming at me, they can get right the fuck up out of that chair and go home. Like, we're not doing that because I don't deserve that. People can handle their shit, and that is what I expect from people. So we don't want to make excuses, which again is happening when we have too much empathy. Well, they're doing it because XYZ. They hit me because they're mad. They hit me because they don't know. They scream because they had trauma and they've never worked through it. And I don't fucking care. I don't care. Like, literally, when I tell you I don't care, I have 0% care for why people do the things they do. I don't care. It doesn't matter. If what they're doing is not okay, I expect them to do better. Or I'm going to remove myself from the situation until they do better. And I promise you, again, I've done this work with hundreds and hundreds of people for years. I promise you, once you stop allowing it, they will change. If you say, hey, if you start screaming, I'm going to hang up the phone, I promise you they'll stop screaming. Eventually. It may take a couple times, but this is where boundaries come in. And this is where boundaries are a practice. Okay. It takes time for you to learn how to set them, and it takes time for them to learn how to adjust to them. So we don't want to have so much empathy that we are allowing and making excuses for people to mistreat us, which is what I often see happen, which is the entire reason we're doing this podcast episode. Because empathy, too much empathy with no boundaries is the problem. And on the flip side, too many boundaries with no empathy are a problem. If you have way too much boundaries energy and you're not giving people grace, you're not giving them understanding, you're not adjusting, you're just an asshole. That's not nice. Okay. That's not nice. And it's not kind. And we don't want to do either of those things. So we don't want too much of either, because then we're imbalanced and life is not happy. Life is not good. So we want them to be in flow. Sometimes people need more grace. Sometimes people need more boundaries. So we want to learn the difference. We want to learn when to apply. And again, these are all just skills. Like, inherently, if someone always comes and the second you say anything, they're screaming at you, that person needs more boundaries. If you're with someone and they start yelling and you're like, wow, this is so out of character, like, what is going on? Then that person probably needs more empathy. So we can discern what any situation needs, right? So we don't want to have too many boundaries. We don't want to have too much empathy. We want to be in the happy middle. We want to be Goldilocks, where it is just right. We set boundaries when we need to. We have empathy when we need to. But the baseline is that nobody mistreats us, because we always have a choice in that, and we don't have to allow it, because you do not deserve it. You do not deserve to be mistreated. You deserve to be respected. You deserve to be spoken to with compassion, with respect, with kindness, with all of those things, right? But you also determine how people treat you. That's where boundaries come in. What you allow or not allow is what continues. Mic drop, facts. I could stop the episode right there, but we're not going to do that. We have more, but wait, there's more. It's like Billy Mays. If you guys remember him, if you're too young, you don't know who that is. Anyway, I remember Billy Mays. He was the OxyClean guy. Doesn't matter. Google him. Okay, so what I find is that when people have had too much empathy for too long, they'll try and like cut off that empathy and say like, well, I'm not going to do anything for anyone and I'm going to be mean to everyone. And I'm going to tell everybody no, and nobody gets any access to me, and nobody gets to know that I'm nice. Because they think that like, so imagine this is a pendulum, right? You guys know what a pendulum is. I hope. If you don't, it's a thing that swings back and forth. Like it has a set point at the top and then it swings back and forth. Think someone like hypnotizing you, right? Or like a grandfather clock. So if they're way over here on this end of the spectrum, if they're way on the way too much empathy, make it, allow excuses for everyone, make excuses for everyone, anything goes, they're always a punching bag, whatever. What often happens is they course correct way to the other side where like there's way too many boundaries. They're actually mean. They're like really not where you're mean, right? You're just like, nobody gets access. I'm not nice to anybody. I say no to everything. But that's way too far. Again, we don't want to be on the extreme ends of the spectrum. We want to be in the middle where we can flow, where we can adjust as needed. So what often happens is they cut off their heart, thinking that their heart is the problem. Your heart is not the problem. Your heart is a gift. Your inability to set boundaries is the problem, not your heart. So please hear me when I say that. This is the wrong answer for a few reasons. One, it triggers guilt and shame because now you're being mean, quote unquote, and you may be being mean. It's like, well, I can set boundaries when I'm mad enough. That's a huge problem because now you're too pissed off to be kind. Now you're too pissed off and you're actually just hurting people's feelings. And then you feel guilty and then you feel ashamed. And then that guilt and shame gets tied to boundaries. So you say, well, I can never set boundaries because I'm always a bad person when I set boundaries. And it's like, yeah, you have been because you don't actually know how to set boundaries. You're setting them when you're at a 10. We need to set them when you're at a 3. So setting them at a 10 is the wrong thing. And then you feel guilt and you feel shame and you say, oh, boundaries are the problem. No, boundaries are not the problem. The problem is you don't know how to set them appropriately. That's fine. You can learn. It's just a skill set. And then you think being selfish is bad. And well, every time I put myself first, I feel like garbage and I feel like shit and I feel bad afterwards. And it's like, okay, but being selfish isn't actually the problem. The problem is you're doing it way too late. Way too late, okay? And then there's this like really crappy feedback loop where we set boundaries and we feel bad. So we don't set boundaries and then we have to set boundaries and we feel bad. So then we never set boundaries. And it's like you're always swinging on the extreme ends of this spectrum. You're always no boundaries, too many boundaries, no boundaries, too many boundaries. And like, first of all, that's exhausting. Okay. Like you must be so tired. Like, no, that is not the vibe, honey. It's not the vibe. So 1, it's exhausting. 2, it's like confusing as fuck for your nervous system because we're either fawning, always giving in, always saying yes, always acquiescing. Anyway, we're always giving in. I repronounced that word. Acquiescing? I don't know. I don't think I've heard it out loud. Or we're like fighting. So we're fawning or we're fighting. By the way, both of those are fear responses. So you have 4 fear responses: fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. Fawning is giving in. Obviously, fighting is fighting. So your nervous system is always going between these like really extreme states. And it's like, what the fuck? Why is my life always in danger? What is happening? Why aren't we ever stable? And then you're exhausted and you're resentful of the people in your life. And it's just like not a good time, right? It's like walking through a swamp and there's like alligators biting your ass. Oh, and there's a boa, there's a friggin' python wrapped around your leg and birds are like pecking your hands. It's like none of that is a good time, okay? But that's where you are when you're on the extreme ends of the spectrum. We're giving in, which is a fear response, or we're fighting, which is a fear response. Either way, your nervous system is like, why is our life always in danger? We hate this. This is not a good time. Like 0 out of 10 stars, would not recommend. When you balance your big heart with boundaries, 1, you stop being in fight or flight, which is really exciting for your nervous system. You learn that people will adjust to you. Okay, I promise you they'll adjust. Like Maybe not the first time. Again, it takes people a couple times to learn something, but like they'll definitely adjust. It always happens. Again, hundreds of people. That is a fact. Your nervous system gets to calm down because you're no longer always in a fear response. You're no longer always responding to a threat. And you say yes because you're afraid they're going to be mad at you, right? So you're responding to a threat. But when you say, oh, well, it's okay if they're upset, they will also not die. I will not die. It's fine. Your nervous system gets to be calm, cool, and collected. You get to become untriggerable, which is beautiful, which we love. So boundaries protect your time, your space, your energy, your body, or your things, or your knowledge. That's literally all they do. It says, hey, like I would love to help you move on Saturday, but I have an event that I have to go to at 4, so I can only help you until 1. Or I can't help you at all because I have too many things to do. Instead of like running around like a chicken with your head cut off, literally 24/7, so exhausted, so overwhelmed, so resentful, so guilty, so ashamed, so afraid. My darling baby, that is not a good time. Okay, so we don't want to live there. We want to live in the space where we're like, you choose, you have power to choose what you give your time, energy, knowledge, body, things, whatever, to. Okay, you always get to choose, and everybody else can adjust. I promise you the world is not going to end. I promise you're not going to die about it. They're not going to die about it. They're actually just going to find a different solution. Like, people can problem solve. It's okay. You don't have to save them. You don't always have to come to their rescue. You don't always have to be the person who helps. If this is resonating with you, again, please check out my course, Becoming Light. It will help you. So let me recap this. So we know that giving with no boundaries ends up in you having nothing, which puts you in fight or flight, which will very likely cause you to be depressed because you have nothing. What is depression? Feeling nothing. Ta-da! See that link? We know that nonprofits, charities, churches do not operate by giving away everything because they can't. They would go out of business. Hello, you're doing the same thing. You're no different than a nonprofit. You cannot give away everything. You have to keep some for operating expenses. You have to keep some for reserve. Currently, you have not been doing that. That's okay. We can just, it's not okay because you're suffering, but like it is what it is. We can just start shifting that, okay? We know that boundaries are simply protection, and we want to set them sooner rather than later. We do not want to set them when you're at a 10 because then you're too angry and then you're mean and then you feel guilty and then you feel ashamed and then all of those things. No. We want to set them at like a 3 or a 4 where you're like, hey, this is kind of frustrating. I don't love this, so I'm going to remove myself from the situation. There is always an out. You always have a choice. You are always in control of where you put your energy. Always, always, always. Nobody can force you to do that unless they have a gun to your head. Okay. So literally, I don't imagine that you have a gun to your head very often. It may feel like you have no choice, but you always have a choice. Always, always, always have a choice. We know that your big heart is not the problem. Your big heart is wonderful. Me, my multiple personalities, because they say we a lot when I talk about me. This world benefits from you wanting to give. It benefits from you helping. Like, that is a benefit. We just cannot do it to the point where you're giving everything and you have nothing left. That is not okay. That's not healthy. It's not a good time. And damn it, we were put on this earth to have a good time. Hello, doggies. Oh no. Hello, doggies. Hello, doggies. We had a dog join. Sasha's joining. If you can hear her tail like whipping things, don't knock anything over. Go play. Thank you. Go. Little puppies. So we don't want to get into the space where you're giving everything and you have nothing, because then goodbye. Because then we are constantly in fight or flight, or we're feast or famine. Like, that's not okay. And actually, when you're in this state, you never get full. Like, you're usually empty or very, very negative. And then you're like, why am I depressed? Why am I anxious all the time? Why can't I relax? Why am I always afraid? Why is my nervous system always activated? It's because one of the reasons is because you're doing this. You're giving too much. You're not setting boundaries. You're not prioritizing yourself. And that doesn't mean that you have to be mean. It doesn't mean that you have to be cruel. You can do it in a kind way. You can say, I'm so sorry, I can't make that thing. I can't do this thing for you. I don't have time. I don't have the money. I have other obligations. Like, I just can't do it. I'm so sorry. Like, that's not mean. The other person may be like, oh my God, how dare you? But like, again, if somebody benefits from you being afraid to hurt them, that's not okay. Like, that's not an equitable, balanced relationship. You're allowed to say no, and they're allowed to say no, because that's life. Okay, that's a healthy relationship. So if somebody benefits from you not having any boundaries, I really want you to think about the benefit that they give you. What do they bring to your life other than stress and chaos? No, thank you. Hard pass. We want things to be easy. So, too much empathy with no boundaries leads to misery town. And you know what's in misery town? Fucking depression. Nothing. Nothing is there. It's like the worst. Okay, that's the swamp with the alligator and the python and the mean birds, and we hate that space. We do not want to live there. Sometimes you go through it, but we don't want to live there. Like, you're not Shrek. We don't want you to live in a swamp, okay? Although Shrek loves his swamp, so he's happy there. You are not Shrek. We don't want you to live there. What we actually want is boundaries, to set them when we're at a 3 or a 4. We want to prioritize ourselves. It is okay to be selfish. I know women especially have a huge, typically, like, attachment to the word selfish, and it's bad. We can never be selfish. But like, think about who that benefits, okay? It's not you. You don't benefit from that. Critically think about that, okay? Love you. Think about it after this episode or during, again, whatever. This is your choice. We want to do it in a kind way. Like, again, if you have this big heart and you're giving and you're so empathetic, like, you obviously want to help people. That's wonderful. But we want you to be on that list too. So the big takeaway for this is to say yes when it's a real yes. When it is, I would love to do this. This would be so fun. Oh, absolutely. I have the time, the energy, the space, the money, the willingness to do this thing. If you're not willing to do the thing, if you're only doing it out of fear, if you're only doing it to make someone happy, which is fear-based because you're afraid of them being upset with you, that's not a good reason. We don't want to make decisions out of fear. We want to make decisions out of love. I would love to do this. I would love to help you. Or I don't necessarily have the time, the energy, the space, but it's really important for me to show up for you in this way. And I'm going to wholeheartedly accept the consequences of this decision. Amazing, right? Not everything is a super hell yes that you want to do. Like, if a friend is moving and nobody can help them and you're like, okay, I could rearrange my schedule to help you, then make that a full yes. Fully consent to that. Don't help them and then be resentful that you're there the entire time. You made that choice. You decided to help them. That's on you. They didn't put a gun to your head. So that's on you. So when it's a full yes, let it be a full yes. And if it's a no, let it be a no. It's okay. I promise you, you're not going to die. I promise you, they're not going to die. They're just going to find another solution to their problem. It doesn't always have to be you. So that's your little chunky bite-sized takeaway. This is your chicken nugget for today, is like, say no when it's a no. You can give an excuse, and here's a script for you. I'm so sorry, I can't help you with X because I have XYZ obligation. I would love to make it to this. I'm so sorry, I can't. I would, love an invite to the next thing. Use that framework. I'm so sorry, I can't X. I have XYZ. Ta-da. We love this. Go practice it. Write it down if you have to. You can practice it. It's okay. You can send it over text. You can say it in person. Do whatever's going to work for you. But we want to say yes to things that are a full body hell yes. We want to say no to things that are a hard no. But we want to say no to things that are also like a 50% no. Because why? You don't have to be that person. It is not your responsibility to make everyone happy. It is not your responsibility to make sure everyone is thriving. It's your responsibility to make sure you are thriving. And when you have the space, the time, the energy to help others. So we want to balance empathy with boundaries. Too much empathy, huge problem. Too much boundaries, huge problem. Again, we want you to be Goldilocks. In the middle, happy. Okay? Go do that. Let me know how it goes. Let me know that you didn't die. I already know you're not going to. Okay. And if you want more on this, if you want an actual step-by-step framework where we cover relationship standards, putting yourself first, boundaries, the difference between nice and kind, emotional embodiment, why you're people pleasing, like we go deep into all those things, then check out the course, livemyhappyhealth.com/becoming-light. If you have questions, just shoot me a message on Instagram at Amanda_Chills, CHILS. And welcome to making your life way more enjoyable. I am so proud of you just for listening to this episode. Like, I'm super proud of you. I hope that you implement it. I have faith that you will. I know it will help if you do. So go live your dream. Do your little thing.